Welcome back to part 2 of our Last Days series that we're putting out. If you didn't see part 1, which was called Eat Your Babies, then by all means, please go back and watch that. Not that you need to follow today's part 2, but it's extremely important information. Today, in part 2 of our Last Days series, we're going to be covering a DNA editing not allowed in the King James Bible. It is the only Bible where God forbids DNA editing. All of the other so-called translations of the Bible have changed and altered the passage. I wonder who did that so that the way could be made for DNA editing to come. Maybe we'll find out. So let's go right into it and let's take a look. As we began the last part of this series, we need to remind the rank and file Christians, and we need to warn those who are leading the flocks, the so-called shepherds today, the watchmen ? Isaiah 56:10, his watchmen are blind. That's how they describe the Laodicean church. The hour that we're in. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Isaiah 56:10. Well, these are the men and the sons of the men leading the church today who've cast away the King James Bible from this generation. You'll notice generation has the word gene in it, and now we're suffering in our genes because of this, with the forced mandates that are at hand. Instead of bringing revelation and light from the Word of God, from our Father, all they're bringing is worldly opinions on whether it's worth losing your job, etc., etc. We want light and we want revelation, but unfortunately, it's only going to be those rank and file believers who are able to hear words and wisdom and discretion and understanding, such as is coming forth in this video today. Let's get into it. DNA editing not allowed in the KJV. Let's look at Psalm 139, 14 through 16, focusing on verse 16, which is in black. Beginning in 14, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret, and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. Now this is obviously from beginning to end, contextually, not just principally, not just preceptually, from beginning to end, regarding the DNA formation of a human. This is referring to the weaving of a fetus into a baby to come forth as a man who is equipped in his DNA by God to be able to live in accordance with the elements of this world, which includes immune systemization. So, now that we've seen clearly the context and the flow, let's go on and let's take a look next and focus on verse 16, because this is where Satan, through all of the other false Bibles, has manipulated the text to make way for him to bring you a DNA editing substance ready to inject into you at a pharmacy nearby. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect. And notice what I underlined. And in thy book. Whose book? That's God's book. And in thy book, all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. God calls the human DNA his book. Did you catch that? Because remember, who is going to come in the form of man, having the DNA of man? God in the flesh, Jesus Christ. Thy book is in the Bible only given and granted terminology toward two things. And that's God's book, as we would most traditionally think of it, the King James Bible. And now we see thy book being the human body DNA. This is crucial and important because Jesus said, "Lo, in the volume of the book it is written of me," and that he was coming accordingly. That means according to the scriptures and according to the human DNA, which he has fulfilled. Now, about these two attributions of God's book, the King James Bible, the Word of God, and the human body, our DNA, in both cases, God is the author. He is the only one who has the right to edit either of these. When he resurrects the saints, he will make an edit to their DNA and glorify them. If he puts out a 1611 version of the King James Bible and desires to put out a 1769 version of the King James Bible, he, as the author, has the right and is the only one who has the right to put out such editions. But guess who is after both of these? The book of the Lord. In both cases, Satan wants to be the author and has published many Bibles, even as he desires to get into God's book, our human DNA, at this current point in time, and alter us for his purposes, even as he's altered these false Bibles for his purpose. Next, thy book equals our human DNA according to Psalm 139:16. KJV. Look at how the KJV says, all my members were written. So in thy book, all my members, that's all your parts. That's your arms, your legs, your eyes, ears, nose, mouth. That's your immune system. That's everything according to your membership. But look at what all of these false Bibles have done. ESV, in your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me. Totally different. Totally removing the fact that God identifies our human DNA as his book, that he is the author of and the only one with the right to make any edits to. NKJV, the New King James Bible, not the King James Bible. In your book, they all were written, the days fashioned for me. NIV, all the days ordained for me. NASB, the days that were ordained for me. New Living Translation, every day of my life was recorded. Every moment was laid out. Totally different, completely different. The modern English version calls it an open book. It doesn't even attribute it to being God's book. Now it's merely just, hey, an open book. And the easy read version, which you shouldn't expect to be even close, takes out the book entirely. There's not even a book cited. The days that were ordained for you, such as the day God rescued you, with the fill in the blank down there, V space, CC space, N space. Just supply some vowels. This is what they're all leading you to. The glorious day that God rescued you from this dreadful pandemic. Oh, thank God that he's provided the P jab and the M jab and the JJ jab. Although that last one is not mRNA, we're focusing on the other two today. Next, thy book according to Psalm 139:16, is our DNA, special and unique as human beings, the vessel which God himself has chosen eternally to occupy. Thy book equals God's King James Bible, and thy book equals the DNA of the Bible. ESV, NKJV, NIV, the ETC, that's the etc., unending versions. Those are all DNA editing of the true Bible, the KJV. Cloning with editing. They're mRNA Bibles. Thy book also, and the only other thing listed as God's book, the DNA of the human body, according to Psalm 139:16, in only the King James Bible. mRNA. Sounds like a new translation of the Bible, doesn't it? The mRNA version. Well, simply put, that is DNA editing of the human body. And that means DNA editing of you. Both of these, Satan is after to bring mRNA into, to alter. This should be clear. If you watch our videos, you'll see much teaching on the perfection of the King James Bible as God's authorized version that has come out of his mouth. Please watch some other videos because both of God's books are under serious, and I mean serious, attack. May this video bless you with wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and discretion in this hour. Yeah.